What was the incident at your school? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Some 12th graders thought it would be a brilliant idea to open cans of pepper spray and run down every hallway in the school as a prank during the lunch period. The hazardous chemical unit, ambulances, and police were called because half the school couldn't breathe and the other half couldn't see. Needless to say, they weren't smart about it because they appeared on multiple cameras throughout the school and were appropriately prosecuted. Someone wrote a time and date followed by "leave school" on a bathroom stall door. The entire school was evacuated that day, outside into large groups in the 95-degree heat with no shade. Police dogs and a bomb squad came to search the school. Every locker gone through, every desk, every backpack, nothing found. 6 kids passed out from the heat. There was talk about bomb threats and shooter threats, but nothing ended up happening. 2 years later, I learned that there was supposed to be an off-campus trip for a small group of PE kids that day that would have left around that time. It's likely some idiot wrote that as a reminder. In 6th grade, my math teacher and the assistant principal were having sex in her classroom during lunch. He was married and got her pregnant. It was a whole thing. They got fired in the middle of the school year. We're pretty sure they did it on the desks because we weren't allowed in the classroom for a week and they replaced all the desks. Every day in our senior year, someone set off the fire alarm. It got so bad we had to leave town officials and firefighters tell us how dangerous a stunt like this is. After a while, they offered a reward and the kid's 2 friends turned him in. He was expelled and couldn't graduate. In 4th grade, a heavier kid was messing with a girl in the cafeteria and took something, her pen if I remember correctly, off her table and ran. He's running away and decides to hide behind a trio of large pipes in the far end of the lunchroom. He somehow made it into the small cavity behind the pipes, but then he couldn't get out. Once he realized he was stuck, it quickly became quite the spectacle. He started panicking, trapped in his prison of wall and giant piping, screaming like a banshee and kicking and punching the pipes, and the normal hubbub of the lunchroom quieted, and we turned our collective attention to him. He futilely tried to exit the way he had come in, but now couldn't fit through the opening. He tried from various angles and heights, but he simply didn't fit through. Various lunch and school staff tried to help remove him, but they couldn't get him all the way out, as he would start screaming in pain midway and yelling, "It hurts!" He most likely didn't fit, simply because he was young and panicked, so they had to call the fire department. When fire and rescue showed up, the school started to clear the cafeteria of students, but we stalled for as long as we could in the relative chaos. Teachers started losing control of the room, futilely trying kids to go to the auditorium and most not listening. Fire department on scene, and a wailing and hysterical trapped fat kid, of which I was also one, so no personal judgment there, was too much excitement to miss. Fire department had the kitchen staff get a bunch of Crisco, and they made the kid take off his shirt and started wiping him down with it. To their credit, the school staff in the lunchroom tried to shield the view from the 100 or so kids remaining, but we, being little assholes we were, climbed on tables and whatever else to see. They got him out, using the cooking grease. Like I said, he probably could have fit without it had he remained calm, but it's gotta be scary as shit for a kid. And it's quite lucky for him this happened in the 80s, so there's no video footage of it. Still, the cruelty of children isn't new, and he was known as a butter boy or butterball around the school from then on. One girl in my year all of a sudden was absent from school for a little over a month. No one knew why, including her boyfriend, who she had cut all ties with out of the blue. It turns out she laughed she was pregnant with her brother's kid and had a miscarriage. The news spread like wildfire, and soon her father complained to school about the bullying, and we all got a verbal warning with kids getting detention. She then left and moved to a new town. Her close friends say it all happened because they were messing around after she got out of the shower and it slipped in. They got addicted to the risky feeling and conceived a child. There was a forest next to our school campus. My friends and I would go walk on the trails in it during lunch or if we had a break in our class schedule. This was a German school, and we had schedules more similar to college than high school. One year, it was all closed off. 2 male students had taken advantage of a drunk girl in the woods. They did some terrible stuff and also took pictures. They got caught very quickly. Turns out none of them even went to our school. On a more personal note, my friend who sat next to me in science had a seizure during class. fell out of her chair and hit her head on an open drawer behind her. It was terrifying, and I didn't know what to do to help. I was the incident. When I was 14, I went to a new toy and gag store that opened in my town. They had these sink bombs that were little bags of sulfur. I believe they were called fart bombs. They had a dude bent over, letting one rip on the cover. Anyways, 14-year-old me thought it would be a funny prank to bring these stink bombs to school and let them off in the girls' bathroom. So I did. I set off 8. Fast forward maybe 30 minutes or so. Over the school intercom, all students report to the sports field in a single file, as if we're having a fire drill, and then the fire alarm goes off. The school ended up being closed for the whole day because the sulfur in the little packets did not stay in the ladies' bathroom. It got sucked up through the school's HVAC system and spread to every classroom. School was closed for the day, and after a week suspension and a $1,200 fine for a hazmat team to come in and make sure everything's fine, I was back in class. I was referred to as Stink Bomber for the remaining time in high school. Well earned. In high school, our group would light smoke bombs off. We convinced a friend to bring some black powder that he said would be bigger. The ensuing explosion blew several windows out, destroyed a large group of ceiling tiles, dislodged bricks from the wall, and deafened one kid. The bomb squad and police arrived shortly after. Charged with a Class D felony, I needed a lawyer to get me out of the charge. My middle school thought it would be an interesting idea to emulate what the Holocaust was like. Everyone's last names, A through K, had special privileges, while L through Z were treated as Jews and had to wear a star on them and had to do some ridiculous stuff, such as sit on the floor for class, among other things. Students didn't take it well and rebelled, and spread word outside school, which made it on the news. Bad idea. Was in 4th or 5th grade. My school was surrounded by nature, hills, etc. Some kids were playing in the forest when a big boulder got loose and landed on a kid, crushing him to death. This happened during recess, and kids came running down from the hill crying, so naturally we all ran to see what happened. I still remember seeing this poor kid's legs sticking out from under the boulder. Just a freak accident, but horrible for everyone involved. Teachers gathered us all and spoke about what happened, etc. My head teacher broke down when talking about how they freed the kid and how peaceful he looked when freed, etc. This was one hard-ass teacher as well, and it made a huge impact as well just seeing him break down in front of us all. Heard this from a teacher. It was 2008 when it happened, if I remember correctly. Students would go to the nearby gas station and use the payphone there and say the school was about to be shot up, so of course the school was forced to evacuate. They used to evacuate to the football field. It changed after this story. Most times it was a prank. The people who did the prank used the payphone because the school would look up who owned the number and went to where it was located, but since the prankers used the payphone, they were never caught. The police were always led to the payphone, but never were able to catch anyone there. One day, someone used the payphone saying they were going to shoot up the school, so the school evacuated to the football field, but this time it wasn't a prank. According to the teachers, a junior was hiding in the forest up the hill nearby the football field. He had a hit list, mainly of football players who bullied him. He shot 6 people before police arrived and found him. His hit list had 11 people. No one knows if he was sent to a lifetime of prison or death row, but no one knows where he is today. Due to this event and future false shooting threats from the payphone, the phone was removed, and since then, only 2 prank calls of that type happened. Yes, I know it's poorly worded. I'm terrible at writing or typing. TLDR. A guy called, he was going to shoot up the school, and evacuation happened. 8 people were killed. He was arrested, and the payphone at the nearby gas station was removed due to this. I also don't like to use periods very often, but it's okay. A student walked in on 2 teachers having sex. The student was about 11 or 12, I think, and there was also a student-on-student sexual abuse happening at the school that the head teacher knew about but never reported. Compared to that, the occasional knife being brought in seems pretty tame. To my knowledge, the school is still open, but barely, considering no parent in their right mind would send their child to a school like that. Upper elementary school, 5th and 6th grades. It was after school, and 2 6th graders snuck away from the YMCA after-school program to have sex in a stairway near the gym. A teacher found them, and I remember seeing the girl in tears waiting for her mom to pick her up. They were both in my class, and for the rest of the year were kept separated by the teacher. In class, on field trips, outside on the playground, not allowed to go near each other. Some kids in around the 5th or 6th grade intentionally went into the girl's bathroom with a permanent marker and started drawing and writing horribly cruel shit. I'm not sure if they were caught, but after that the school staff would check the students' desks for permanent markers and a bathroom log was instituted. So many were at my high school, from the uranium incidents to dozens of suicides to handjobs and stairwells, still better sex ed than the classes, to student-teacher affairs. The one I'm going to talk about, however, occurred between two freshmen who were in a relationship. About a week before the incident, at lunch, they wandered across the street to eat, as was normal, and they were having an important conversation. One member of the relationship came out as non-binary, and the other, male, he-him pronouns, was uncomfortable with it, but nothing else of note happened then. The next week, the member who was uncomfortable with the other's gender identity outright refused to use they-them pronouns, so they proceeded to stab him 11 times and castrate him. That was the incident during my high school that sticks out more than any other. Community college. Someone called in a bomb threat because they didn't want to attend class or something along those lines. A lot of classes left early and traffic was jammed. The school said they found out the problem and said they did a good job managing the situation. Everyone was calling bullshit as they were stuck in their cars in traffic. The sports coach was accused of sexually assaulting a student in the locker room at my high school. I remember not being shocked because moms would fight over him behind the bleachers at football games, a married man. He banged about every mom that was living and breathing. I remember being so disgusted because he was many of my friends' coaches years prior. But then came a huge plot twist. Turns out, allegedly, the superintendent set him up. Guess they were sharing the same mistress, who was a teacher at the school, and he wasn't happy about it. The coach got off, and I think might still be fighting the superintendent in court. The superintendent ended up resigning and taking a shit ton of taxpayers' money with him. He got to keep his pension or something like that. Anyways, the community was up in arms about it. I still don't know whose story to believe. This may seem strange, but we had bomb threats constantly, at least once a month. It was so common we didn't even think about it. Never a bomb found though. It was a standard fire drill thing. Get up, line up, shuffle out the door to the field behind the school, wait, then file back in. Usually miss the test that was planned, which was the whole idea for the prankster. When things hit the fan though, was when interracial dating started. A white boy got upset his girl chose a black boy as her date, so the white stabbed the black boy. Naturally the Klan gets upset, and this triggered more stupidity. The messed up thing was that she wasn't the first white girl to date blacks. She was only the first one to bounce between them. One of my teachers got murdered and raped in the bathroom. Look it up. Colleen Ritzer, Danvers High, Massachusetts. My junior year, a fight broke out at lunch between two guys. Those guys' friends joined in as backup. Their friends joined in as backup, and on and on. It went until like 70 people were in this fight. School security was obviously outnumbered and couldn't stop it. This happened in the central quad. I was on the outskirts of the quad with some friends, so I didn't see everything, but I distinctly remember seeing the principal tackle one of the students fighting. It was wild. An announcement was made to get to the 5th period immediately, and teachers and staff were ushering us inside frantically. The police showed up to the school, and before I made it into a classroom, I saw a few cops wearing riot gear. I'm not sure what happened then because we were all locked in the classrooms. The school was on lockdown until 5 p.m. This started at about 11 a.m., and we had to be individually signed out by our parents to leave. The next day, there were rumors that 50 kids had been arrested. I don't think that's true, but at least a few had to have been. In my last year of primary school, my class went on a week-long trip, and on the first day, when the teachers were doing a register, my best friend who was standing in front of me fainted and fell into my arms. But I didn't react quick enough, so he somehow managed to turn while unconscious and land face first on the concrete. And 2 or 3 days later, when he came back, he told us that he had a massive cut on his bottom lip and that it exposed a vein, and to this day, he will sometimes bring it up just to make me feel bad.